Hello everyone. I have a class on Wednesday, an acting class, scene study, and we bring pieces of text from films, TV, theatre, anything we want really, like modern text, Shakespeare, or our tutor suggests something for us, or we kind of decide together. We bring stuff to the class. It's like a day long. It's like a few hours long, like morning and afternoon. We have a lunch break. And and we just like play with the work and rehearse it and see what comes out of it. We get like directed and redirected, and it's really, really cool, and coached and stuff. And it's a great class, and it's really nice to be a part of, and it's lovely to watch everybody do their work and take part in your own stuff as well. So this week I wanted to work on some Mike Bartlett, who's a playwright that I really like. And so my tutor sent me a bunch of his plays, like loads of his plays, and he suggested why not combine two speeches from two different plays. So that is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to do a speech of Isabel's from Bull, and then I'm going to do a speech of from Medea, the like newer version that Mike Bartlett did of Medea. Or Medea. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Medea. Maybe I'm butchering the language. I apologise for that. I am doing those two. So I'm combining those two speeches. So I just thought I'd go through what I do when I'm working on some text or a speech. So if I'm just working on, say, a speech from the script or maybe one scene, I'll just print out that script or that piece of text, that speech, because I don't feel the need to print out the whole thing. Like, I'm just going to read the script and then I'll make notes in my notebook because I don't want to waste the paper. But if I'm working on the whole play, then I do want it printed, or I want like a copy. I usually get like a copy that's already printed, if it's not like something that's given to you, because I like to make notes on everything about my character and all sorts of notes. So what I've done is printed out here speech, and this is the second one here. Here you can probably see the notes I've made on it already. So I printed those out. I read both of the plays today, and I went through both of them, and I made notes about whenever somebody mentions something about that character, or any thoughts that I have about the character as we go along. So for Medea, I made these notes here. So there's some more here as well. So this is just all on the text. Ideally, I would use, if I'm making notes around the text itself, I use a pencil just so I can rub them out. But if I'm just making notes about the text, or if I'm writing in a notebook or whatever, I just use my pen. So what I've written about her is anything that I think is worth thinking about that she mentions, or worth noting that she mentions. Anything about her relationships with the other people in the play. Anything anybody else says about her. And then I'll kind of make up my own mind about whether I think that's a truth, or whether I don't know, maybe it's like judgments from other characters. You kind of have to make up your own mind on that one. You kind of don't want to judge your character. You don't want to put any judgment on them necessarily. You kind of want to try to see things from their perspective, so you can play the character truthfully. Like if you had somebody that did, I don't know, bad things, you don't necessarily want to view them as a villain, because then I think you just give this kind of one-dimensional performance of just like, I am the villain, I'm playing this person that does these bad things. You kind of want to explore and find out the reason why they do those things, and play it from a kind of place of truth, and maybe like a belief that what they believe that they're doing is right, or they have a reason for what they're doing. So although I do write down what other people say about the characters, I kind of have to decide what I think about that, and what I think in playing the character about that. So yeah, that's what I've done is I've written a whole bunch of stuff about her. So I've written some things that things that she's said. So things like she's like information about her family. Her parents are dead. She says she got rid of her old friends for her husband. She said she's a witch. She can make bad things happen. I don't know, she's got this many A levels. She says, oh, men don't like clever women. Women hate clever women. Lots of things like that. I don't want to say too much more because, like, if you read the play or see the play, I'll be giving things away. But that's the sort of things I write down, all sorts of stuff. And then I write down if I feel like she's having certain thoughts about things. And then there's points in the play where I feel like, oh, she's changed her mind about that. Why has she changed her mind about that? So yeah, I sort of write down lots and lots of information and kind of try to make up my mind about what I feel about the character, the point that she's, maybe the point she starts at and the point she finishes at. It's kind of to help me plot out the journey they go through in the play as well. So the speech that I'm doing is really early on in the play. It's this speech, it's shit being a woman, sorry but it is how it starts. And it's very early on. And her, I'll say this, I just hope this doesn't give too much away, but her husband has left her, basically. This is at the very beginning, her husband's left her for a much younger woman. And so I feel as though a lot of the things that she is saying are kind of as a consequence. They're kind of because of what she's been through, what she's recently been through. The feelings, how she feels about being a woman. So yeah, I've written a lot of things, again, around this text, about this speech, and also about what's just happened before. So some of the things that the characters have said before about her and to her. I haven't made notes on the, or much on fully on the speech yet. So I'm just going to use an example here of another speech that I learned. This is Emma's speech from The Normal Heart by Larry Kramer. So this is a speech I did a couple of weeks ago. So I don't know if you can see, but this is absolutely covered in notes. Sorry, I got the hiccups. This is absolutely covered in notes. And so what I will do is completely break down the speech. I will probably break it into sections or beats where I feel, so beat is like where you feel there's a change in the speech, maybe a change of thought, maybe kind of it goes in a different direction, or it's like a moment of, I think it's like a moment of change. I think that's how I describe it. A moment where something is different within the speech, maybe, or their thoughts to go in a different direction or something like that. So I'd probably mark those, and I'd probably mark those by using a / and then what else do I do? And then I underline maybe facts or things that I think are really important. So in this speech of Emma's, I've underlined a lot of the facts because it's talking about the research. So the speech is talking about the research that was going into the AIDS and HIV crisis, basically, or the lack of research, the lack of money that was being put into the research. So I underlined a lot of facts and things there, and a lot of her thoughts about that. I do often circle punctuation if there's a lot of punctuation, because punctuation kind of indicates the speech patterns, or how fast or slow, or their thoughts. So I often circle that. I have a pen at the moment, but I'll use a pencil for this on the speech itself, because I'm possibly going to change my mind about it. So I do that. I circle the punctuation. I would then think about my intentions within the speech. So what does this character want? How do I get what I want? What's in my way? Possibly why as well. Like, why do I want this? So maybe like 3-4 intentions or thoughts behind the speech. I think what's in my way is quite an important one, because if you could just say, what do I want and how do I get what I want and why, then there's no conflict within the speech, because then they could just have whatever they want. So I feel like they wouldn't be having that speech, they wouldn't be saying those words if they could just have what they wanted. There's got to be a reason for the speech. So for example, so there has to be a reason for the speech. So that's why I would first do those intentions as well. Next, after I've done all of that, I probably would do that first before learning the speech. I think it helps it to stick in your brain a bit. Do you know what? It kind of depends. Sometimes I would just learn the speech first with no thoughts on it at all. And sometimes I would read it through first and make a ton of notes and then learn it. I'm not really sure which way I do the most. I do like to look at a speech and make notes on it, but sometimes I just learn it and then I add notes to it as I'm going along, because just thoughts come into my head. The best way I found of learning speeches is to do them, literally build it up a word at a time, so then you get a sentence. So my friend taught me this, and I think it's a really good technique, and apparently it helps to get it into your long-term memory. I think it needs to go in, the words need to be repeated 7 times or something like that. I found it's the most effective way of learning a speech. So I would build it up like this. So if the first line is, it's shit being a woman, sorry but it is, I would say, it's shit being a woman, it's shit being a woman, sorry, it's shit being a woman, sorry, but, it's shit being a woman, sorry, but it's shit being a woman, sorry, but it is. And then I would repeat, it's shit being a woman, sorry, but it is, maybe like 7 times. So then I would repeat it. Then when I have learnt a line, I like to put a little tick in my pencil by that line, or, as you can see here, can you see that? There's like these dashes, I don't know if you can see. There's these sort of like lines down it, and that's to indicate that I've learnt that section. And then, so I just learn it in section. I build it up literally line by line, or word by word, line by line. And it's, like, it does take some time, but I honestly think it's the most effective way of learning a speech, because that, like, kind of drilling of it, or learning text actually, it's the most effective way of learning it for me. Because also with the difference between learning a speech and learning lines like normal dialogue is, with normal dialogue you have a cue, so the other person's line, and if I'm learning lines like that, I would underline the word, like the last word of that sentence, that other person's sentence, so that I know that's my cue. I would also possibly underline some things within that line that are my reason for, that would cue the character to say the next line. Okay, so for example here we've got some text, and so let's just think about one example we could use here. Oh, okay, so we've got a bit further on in this scene between 3 sisters. And so, for example, here we've got some text. Did Javier call who? Javier. I thought it was called Pepe. So that's the line before my line, which is, you see, this is what you do to me, this permanent, constant, endless belittling. So I would underline Pepe, and then I would put either she deliberately got her name wrong, or wrong name, or something like that. So I know that my response is going to be a response to her getting her sister getting her boyfriend's name wrong. So I'd underline Pepe, and I'd maybe put some like comment from the perspective of Catherine about how I feel about her sister calling her boyfriend the wrong name. So that is what I would do with learning dialogue. Like, I'd probably do that. So yeah, I find the line by line, like word by word, line by line thing really useful. It's also useful for speeches because I feel like it helps to develop the thought process, which it does in dialogue too, but particularly in speeches, kind of helps you develop the through line of the speech. So I find that particularly helpful in learning that. I may also think about the reaction that my character might want from the other person, like why they're speaking in a certain way. Oh, sorry, I got the hiccups. Why they're saying what they're saying, why they're doing what they're doing, what reaction do they want from them. Sometimes I think about that. If there's any accent stuff in particular, like this speech of Emma's, she is American. So if there are any words that I'm struggling with, or any words that are particularly like different, or very, very different, or so I can't remember there was a word in here which I was finding more difficult, and I can't remember which one it was now. It was, I think it might be, for some reason, why are you blocking my efforts was a bit of a difficulty to me. So my friend suggested like slowing it down much more rather than trying to like rush through it because you're like not sure about it, and slowing it down much more. So I kind of put a little star next to that to help me really like focus on the accent as we were rehearsing, and really like get all those words right and the pronunciation right. And sometimes I'll underline certain words that are really quite different in that accent. Yeah, and then also on this one, I've put a little like diagram of a ladder, which is a reminder to me that there's a build-up of the lines. So there's a build-up in the text or the tension or in what they're saying. So here we've got, what am I arguing with you for, ladder? You don't know enough medicine to treat a mouse. Up a couple more steps. You don't know enough science to study boiled water. Up another couple more steps. How dare you come and judge me? And then it's like 4 steps. So that's to show that that section of text builds right up. So yeah, that is those are a few of the things that I do when working on a speech or working on some text. Yeah, I'm probably going to do some other videos about different speeches that I've worked on. Let me know all the stuff that you do when working on text and speeches. It's all super interesting. I'd love to hear about it. Yeah, and I'll let you know how class goes. Really looking forward to it. So, bye everyone.